Hey guys, so I figured instead of me attempting to go live and it being a hot mess and me wasting 10 minutes of your class time, I would rather just record myself giving instructions. That way you can watch it on your own time and it'll just take a few minutes and then you'll have the rest of the class period to be really productive. So far in the nervous system, we've really been focusing on the brain portion of the central nervous system. But if you remember, the central nervous system consists of both the brain and the spinal cord. So today we're going to be talking a little more about the spinal cord and the peripheral nervous system nerves that are coming from the spinal cord. And we're going to talk about the spinal cord by looking at what happens when it is damaged, how it has an impact on the body when the spinal cord or the nerves coming off of the spinal cord are injured. Okay, that's called an SCI, a spinal cord injury. So you're going to be filling out this sheet today. It is 2 pages, and the majority of this information is going to come from this background document here. If you are in the classroom, I kind of put everything in one document, so one QR code for you to scan. If you are a virtual learner, then I kind of chunked it into several different bullet points. So this background information you can see here is where you're going to find a lot of the answers to those questions. There's a couple of things that I want to point out. First of all, this background information references the spinal cord as kind of being like a highway, and I love that analogy, right? On a highway, you have information going both ways. So to the brain, from the brain, to the body, from the body, a million different cars traveling at once. A spinal cord injury is like a wreck on that highway. And we know that there's a wide range of severity when it comes to wrecks, right? You can have a small wreck where it just kind of is off to the side and cars are still flowing and it's not that big of a deal. Or you can have a wreck that goes across both sides of the highway and there is no movement either direction. And you can have a spinal cord injury that same way. So a spinal cord injury is any damage to the spinal cord which blocks some sort of communication between the brain and the body. But the severity of that spinal cord depends on the level of the injury, the amount of damage to the spinal cord, the extent of paralysis that is caused, and we kind of identify it using the what's called ASIA scale score. Okay, level of injury I want to talk about because you need to understand this to do today's assignment. This figure right here is showing you. This is based on lots and lots of research. It's showing you that if you have an injury to the spinal cord at a certain location, what kind of muscles and movement will be affected because of that injury. But the big thing you need to understand is right here. This damage is going to be both motor and sensory, and the location of the injury is going to affect everything from that point on and below that level. So you can imagine the kind of impact that a spinal cord injury at the cervical level vertebrae, right, up here, is going to have a huge impact compared to if you were to have a spinal cord injury down at the lumbar or sacral vertebral levels, okay? So let's say someone has a spinal cord injury at the C3 or C4 level, somewhere right up here. That is going to affect their diaphragm movement. And remember, the diaphragm is the big old muscle that we need to breathe. But not only is it going to affect that, it's going to affect everything below it, right? Because it's like a highway. Now, depending on how big the wreck was, if it was just a small wreck, then you might see, minor impact on all of these things. But if it was a complete spinal cord injury, which is like both lanes of the highway traffic is stopped, then you are going to see a huge impact on all of this. You're going to see, paralysis. You're going to see loss of urination and bladder control and bowel movement control and that sort of thing. Everything from where the injury is below it is going to be impacted. And then whether or not it is like, sort of slightly impacted or whether there is complete loss of movement, that's going to depend on whether the injury was a complete spinal cord injury or an incomplete spinal cord injury. That's really important. Okay, so after you answer your questions, then you are going to pick a case study, and there are 5 cases for you to choose from. Kendrick, Rico, Morgan, Levi, or Jared. So briefly read through their synopsis on how they got their injury and then pick one that seems interesting to you. There are some questions that you're going to answer about their particular spinal cord injury. And then the last thing you are going to do is you are going to calculate how much your person roughly, how much their medical costs roughly per year based on their particular spinal cord injury and the impact that it has on their body. And then don't forget, there is some follow-up letters for your case studies if you kind of want to see how they are doing now or how they were doing after the injury. So don't forget to read those, even though you don't really have to answer any questions about it. But again, these are based on true stories, all that were treated at the Shepherd Center right here in Atlanta. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions while you are working, I am available via email or through Remind during school hours. So shoot me an email or shoot me a text, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Y'all have a good day.